Hello and welcome once again to Ignite Your Impact. My name is Jen Rhodes, and that took us way too long to get ready.
We are ready now, though.
That was a lot of blank space. Genty, you're welcome. Genty's our VA that helps us edit.
Yeah. So I feel almost a little deja vu here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Saturday. This drops on Monday. The last podcast we recorded on Saturday, it dropped on Monday, and we said we're going to be in Arizona. Well, it's Saturday again. This drops on Monday, and we're going to be in Arizona again.
But do you see my smile?
Yeah.
Do you see how happy I am?
Last week was real estate. This week is fitness. So 2 weeks. We had to come home for the weekend to see the puppy.
Also the children, but mostly the puppy.
Yeah, Easter weekend, yeah.
Sorry, kids.
So this past week, though, it was an unbelievable week for us in Arizona. It was just a great experience. You know, like I said, we attended the real estate convention, and it was mixed with a lot of what I would call motivational speakers, tactical speakers, trainers on how to do things. There was networking of all kinds of stuff. It was great.
Awards.
Yeah.
You received an award.
I did. It was
you and your partner received an award.
Pretty special moment for us.
I
got to go on stage and accept an award for a 77 unit apartment complex that we bought last year.
High five.
Yeah. So I say business partner and me, but also our investors. You know, we got to accept that on behalf of them because that's what we do is we pull people together and we go purchase them. But it was a great experience. But I heard something at this conference that I have not been able to shake, and we want to talk about it today. It was a simple question that someone asked. It's, what are you missing out on by not being the best version of yourself? What are you missing out on by not being the best version of yourself? Let that sink in for a moment. What are you missing out on by not being the best version of yourself? I think most people don't sit with that long enough and think about that. Because when you really think about it, it's not just one thing.
No, it's everything. It's everything. It's experiences you're not having. It's confidence you don't feel. It's opportunities you don't step into. It's the way that you show up in your body, your home, your life.
Yeah, think about that. I mean, it's, what are you actually missing out on? Maybe it's being able to take your shirt off and feel confident. Maybe it's walking into a room and commanding the attention. Maybe it's saying yes to a trip without hesitating because you're not worried about the money. Maybe it's relaxing because you've made good financial decisions. You're providing at a higher level and you're leading at a higher level.
Or even just feeling good in your own skin.
Yeah.
Right? Having energy, being patient with your family, being able to keep up with your family. That reminded me of a client that missed out on an opportunity to basically just hike a mountain with her family. And they came down and she sat at the base of this mountain the entire trip. And she was like, I'm never going to do that again, Jen. I'm never going to feel like that again. That just clicked in my brain.
Yeah.
But like all of those things, right? Not feeling like you're constantly behind.
Yeah. And here's the truth. Most people aren't missing out because of a lack of opportunity. They're missing out because they're not operating at their full capacity. And that's when I heard that, what are you missing out on? I was like, I am not operating at my full capacity. So we want to give you something practical, something that you can actually take and use. And we want you to rate yourself. We're going to do exactly what they did, because they did this at the conference. We're going to do exactly what they did. We want you to rate yourself in 4 areas.
Yes. So I think about these 4 areas: faith, fitness, family, finance.
Yeah. So we're going to do it just like they did on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being you're operating at a high level. You're intentional. You're consistent. You are proud of how you're showing up in that area.
Yeah. So let's do this. If you're driving or you're at the gym, you can do this in your head. Maybe if you're at the gym during your rests, you pull out your notes. Yes. If not, if you're able to do this, grab paper, pen, right? Write down faith. Give yourself a number. Now fitness. What's your number? Family. Finances. And I want you to add those numbers up. out of 40, right? If you're a 40, you might need to look a little deeper. Even Jesus wasn't perfect.
I was not a 40 when I did this.
No. If you're a 15, you might need to give yourself some grace. And I needed to give myself some grace. This was a kind of a push-pull for me.
I think they said it maybe when they tested this, the average is like 20 to 25, something like that.
Yeah. But the goal isn't to judge yourself, right? We're not judgy people. We listen and we don't judge. The goal is to identify, audit, right? Where are you the weakest right now? Because that's where your growth is. This slows you down. This gives you direction.
And here's the bigger idea behind this is it's really hard to grow in any area if you are the lid. If you're the one capping your growth. It's not the economy. It's not your boss. It's not the government. If it were any of those things, you might as well just pack it up and leave because you can't change those things. What you can do is you can go back to your numbers. The numbers you just did on those 4 categories. Get honest with yourself and realize you are the lid. But the great news is if you're the lid, that means you can fix it.
Yeah.
The thing I want to say, though, contrast that. You got to go back to those numbers, and you're probably really doing great in some areas. You probably are. And what that means is that's evidence. That's the vote in the direction that you can do this. If you're an 8 in family, but maybe you're a 2 in finances, well, you know what it takes to build a good family.
Ignore your kids and go make some more money. No. Sorry.
Yeah, there's got to be a balance in there. But I mean, there's evidence that you are a good person. You can do things and you're on the right path. You just need to put some focus in those other areas.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a 5 everywhere, maybe you lack
You're just too comfortable.
direction, right? You just need to set a bigger goal. So I want to use the lid analogy because I love the law of the lid, right? John Maxwell. But there is a story that coincides with this about if you put fleas in a jar. Fleas have a 36-inch vertical, period. But if you put fleas in the jar and close the lid, they'll jump and they'll jump because these fleas know I've got a 36-inch vertical. I can jump out of this, and they'll just jump and hit that lid over and over and over. Eventually, they'll stop jumping so high because they don't want to keep hitting the lid. They'll finally learn. Even if you take the lid off, they'll only jump as high as they know that lid to be. They never jump higher than where the lid used to be. And if those fleas made little flea babies, whatever flea babies are called.
Disgusting, but keep going.
Fleasters.
Yeah, fleasters.
They would be born with the knowledge that they do not have a 36-inch vertical, and that's where the lid is. This is huge here.
I didn't know you were going to say that. That's a whole nother podcast
Right?
about learned behaviors and things like that.
Oh, my God.
But even not going as deep as learning from your parents and things like that. But this is how most people live because they've been conditioned by their own actions. They've been conditioned by their own past failures. And maybe their parents' failures or their friends, but they're conditioned based on past failures, old habits, comfort, fear, and excuses. And they don't even realize that the lid is gone. It's not there anymore. But they're still living like it is.
I think we should revisit the generational beliefs because, like,
It goes deep. Yeah.
if I put a full plate of food in front of you, what are you going to do?
I'm going to eat it.
Why? Because we don't waste food.
We don't waste
Where
food.
did that come from? Right?
Yeah.
That Dust Bowl mentality, right? Interesting. So, okay, well, back on track. Past failures. The past failures one, that definitely hits because, again, if you're looking at your list and you're only looking at the 3s and 2s and you're ignoring the 8s, you're focusing on past failures. And I remember one that we had that it took some coaching for us to get out of. Some good, loving coaching. we were super, super, super successful in the gym business when we decided to open our yoga studios. And we did not do well in that space. And so we developed a belief. And I would say I'm saying we.
It is we.
We wondered, are we just one-hit wonders or two-hit wonders, right? With our gyms? Like, is that the only thing we
Did we
can
get
do?
lucky?
Did we get lucky? Right? But then through some coaching, we realized that it's part of the journey. We had successes in so many areas of our life that we could lean on. Hell, we took the failures and the lessons we learned from that failure and created this brand new thing that's very successful.
Yep.
Which is why we call it the Phoenix Method. But we realize that nobody's perfect. Nobody bats 1,000. Nobody's perfect. Jesus wasn't perfect. This is our post-Easter episode. If we would have stopped after that, we would have never started the Phoenix Method. We would never have this podcast. We would never have our online coaching business. You would have never jumped into real estate investing, and you're crushing it. Crushing it. But that's also why when you look at your numbers, you have to realize it's not the final number, right? It's not a permanent score. You can move the needle on it, up or down, right? But that's where you're not living in your full potential, and you need to focus there. So let's break this down. Finance. You might be the lid if you say, no, Jen, you can't have that Gucci purse. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You might be the lid if you avoid looking at your numbers. If you don't even know where you stand, you delay investing. You play small financially. In fitness, you might be the lid if you keep starting and stopping and taking 3 months and then coming to me crying, I fell off the wagon. That inconsistency, you might be the lid. You might be the lid if you say you don't have time, if you don't prioritize your health. Family. Sorry, my nose is getting me. Guys, it's purple flower season. Holy crap. In family, you might be the lid if you're physically there, but mentally somewhere else. You're not leading your home. You're reactive instead of intentional. Parents, it's important. They're watching you on how you react. Do you respond with intention? I understand that's a test of patience. But then also faith and mindset. You might be the lid if you're not grounded, if you're not intentional, or you're just reacting to life instead of directing it.
Yeah, so the question is, what Jen just said, is any of those hit? Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, who knows? Do you know the area that you need to focus on? If you did the exercise with us, if you didn't do the exercise, hit pause and go back and do it. It's important that you do that. But if you did the exercise with us, you know where you need to focus on right now. And the hardest step is always the first step. But congratulations, if you completed that, you've already taken the first step by looking at it. And the second step becomes much easier. And it's time for the second step. It's time for action now once you've looked at that list, because here's the line that really hit me that I heard when they were doing this. Your self-worth is your enterprise value. An enterprise can be looked at as business enterprise, family enterprise, whatever it is, but your self-worth is your enterprise value. So if you're looking at those numbers and they're not where you want them to be, your self-worth is probably a little low and you're not as valuable as you could be. You're not living your best life. And so you're missing out on things. It all goes back. So how do you see yourself determines how you actually show up. What you pursue, what you tolerate, and what you build.
I love that. All right. So, we are very tactical, right? We're not just going to sit here and rate yourself. Now go fix it. But I want to go through some questions that may also help uncover additional pieces. So that first exercise, right? Where am I the lid in my own life? That is the root question, not your job, your economy, your situation. You, where are you? Playing small, avoiding action, delaying decisions, staying comfortable. Yeah?
And I would tell you, you may pause. If you pulled out a sheet of paper, you may pause right here and go back through what Jen was saying and start listing those areas. Where are you playing small? She went over it pretty quick, but this is a take action. This is a take notes podcast today. Where are you playing small? Where are you avoiding action? What was the
delaying decisions?
Delaying decision, and where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Now hit unpause and keep going, Jen.
but never mind. If they paused, it was.
Yeah, I know.
They wouldn't know to unpause it.
I know.
You're pretty. So ask yourself those questions. Maybe go back and revisit your scores. Maybe you want to adjust some numbers, right? Like where I feel I'm doing good. Ooh, I am delaying this decision. Maybe that needs to notch down a couple right? So you take your 4 categories: faith or mindset, fitness, family, finance, and then ask, why is this not a 10? That answer is where you are the lid. The next step in this first question, right? So we've got our list of scores, right? The next step, you need to replace blame with ownership. I want you to write this down. If it's my fault, I can fix it. If it's to be, it's up to me, right? Every time you catch yourself saying, I don't have time, work is crazy, life is busy, I want you to replace it with, what would this look like if I took full ownership? Now, that does not mean you become a slave to the problem, but take ownership where you can. That shift alone removes the lid.
Yeah, so the first one was, where am I the lid in my own life? Mm-hmm. And the second question is, we've already kind of said this, what am I missing out on by not being my best? This is the part that just, I don't know if you can hear me hit my chest. This is the part that hits me when I hear that, because it creates urgency. Because it's not just what you have, but it's what you're leaving on the table. Go back to Jen's story. What did we have? We had the gym business, but what were we leaving on the table? Reaching way more people. The trips that you're not taking, the confidence you don't feel, the opportunities you don't step into, and the presence that your family doesn't get. Those are things that you're missing out on when you're not your best. And the tactics for that, we've got a couple for that. It's called future cost visualization, if I can say it right. Future cost visualization. Ask yourself, if nothing changes 2 years from now, what do I lose?
This is big for me. Hold on.
Yeah.
Because this is the time of year where, I'm getting misty. Graduation's coming. Keep going.
It's not what I have, it's what do I lose? Because if you don't take action now on your health declines. If you don't take action now, you're missing out on investments that are out there. If you don't take action now, you have strained relationships. You have lost time with your kids. Jen just hit on this creates emotional leverage when you think about it that way. Second one is define just one upgrade. Don't try and fix everything. Try and fix everything, you won't fix anything. Pick one area that you did the audit in and ask, what would a +2 version of this look like? If you were a 4, what would a 6 look like? If you were a 6, what would an 8 look like? If you were a 1, what would a 3 look like? Maybe in fitness, it's doing 2 workouts a week consistently. That's the first thing. It's easy. One thing. Maybe it's in financing. Maybe it's start automating some type of investment. Family, maybe it's 20 minutes of undistracted presence daily.
I will say for us, it was reinstituting family dinner.
Yeah.
Right? Because the kids were already gone.
Yeah, and the kids were gone, and we would bring them back for dinner, and that would and it was crazy. Everyone put their phones down. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But these little small upgrades, not massive things, small upgrades, they create momentum. We're not going to go too deep, but that momentum creates an identity shift.
That was a quick tactic for us.
Yes.
I will say that made a huge difference in recovering time. Because 2 years from now, if you don't change some of this, it's with some relationship, it's gone.
Yeah.
They're gone. All right. Ugh. Chin. I'm going to get worse before She graduates. Don't worry, guys.
All
I'll
right.
cry a few more times.
Let's jump into the third question.
Okay. Number 3. What belief or habit is still acting like a lid even though it's gone? This was a big one for me, guys. What belief or habit is still acting like a lid even though it's gone? Jen, you know that lid's not there. I know. What belief are you still holding on to? This ties to the flea story. Or maybe you're a fleester. The lid isn't real anymore. There's no lid. But you're still living like it is. Because that's how it's always been. Some examples. I'm not good with money. I don't have time. This is just how life is. I've tried before and failed. The tactics involved, I need you to call out the lie. Write the belief down. Put it, even if it sounds ridiculous, even if you know it's a ridiculous belief. This was a very powerful practice for me. I know this belief is ridiculous. Write it down. That makes it real, not just up in here in Crazy Town, right? Write it down, then challenge it. Is this actually true or just familiar? And then I want you to replace them with growth statements. I'm learning how to manage money. I'm still getting the Gucci purse. I can make time for what matters. This is a new season. Number 2, tactic 2 with this, I want you to take one proof action. You don't kill a belief with thinking. You kill it with evidence. And make sure that evidence is visual so that you can go back and revisit it quickly when you need it.
And we hit on this earlier. This is exactly what we did after the yoga business. Mm-hmm. We said we were successful in the gyms, but it's not just business either. We went and looked at where else were we successful in our life?
That's when we put the trophies back up in the clubs. Like, no, I need that daily evidence. Like, no, I'm really good at this.
Yeah, we looked at our family. We looked at a lot of things and said, all right, it's a vote over here that I did good.
Yeah.
And it casts away the votes over here where I did not do so good.
Yeah. Nobody's going to bat 1,000.
But that's exactly what we did was these two things. We called out the lie, and then we found proof that it was a lie.
Yeah. So I need you to ask, what's one action that proves this isn't true anymore? Right? Some examples. Invest $100. It breaks the belief of I'm bad with money. Maybe schedule and execute a workout. It breaks I don't have time. I guarantee if you open up your calendar, I can find time for a 40-minute workout. You know what? I only need 30. Maybe you have a hard conversation. It breaks avoidance. That's a hard one for me. Ooh, I like to dance around, right? But that small proof is just another vote in that new identity.
Yeah, and probably even more importantly, what am I missing out on by staying here? Because it's not just about growth.
Hang on. I need you to ask that question again. It's so good.
What am I missing out on by staying here?
So good.
If people sit in that for a minute, you'll start to take some action. Because like I said, it's not just about the growth. It's about the life that you're not living because you continue to put the lid on it. But today is what these actions that we showed you today, this is what helped. And we still use it today. We're not perfect. We are constantly using these tactics to help us take the lid off and think bigger and do bigger things. And we're giving them to you today because they work. They flat out work.
Yeah. I think we should wrap with that. Should we take the lid off this one?
Let's do it.
I guess we'll put the lid back on for next week. Guys, you know what to do. Please share this with someone you think would find value in it. It's the only way we grow our message. And as always, we'll see you next week.